All right, welcome back. This is Gamer Chat for the week of September 30th, and we are finally back after I moved, got a new job, and now brain dead because of everything. We're finally back up and running, and we want to come to you guys with a couple things tonight. Joining me tonight is Soundman, and new to the site. Well, I was new to the site a couple weeks ago, but now an editor also is Scrooge Meister. Welcome, guys.
What's up?
How's it going?
All right, and we're talking about Gears 3 tonight. Specifically, right now, we're talking about the campaign. And Scrotus, give me your thoughts.
Well, campaign all in all, the first thing that catches the eye is the game looks amazing. The Unreal Engine that is the thing that it's bread and butter. The visuals are always top notch. But going from there, the gameplay always takes a second step behind the visuals. But it was visually just amazing.
Yeah, especially towards the end, especially whenever you're going to disable a maelstrom, just the whole way that the clouds look. There's a lot of love and care put into how this looked. I know there's a ton of glitches in 2, and they finally fixed after almost what now 6 years of having this engine. There's barely any texture pop in, which was something that's amazing. Soundman, what'd you think?
Well, as Scrotus mentioned before, the visuals were actually quite stunning in Gears of War 3. I noticed that they took the time to make some very large dropbacks that you could see, pan out over the distance, the sunrises, the sun setting behind the clouds, which I think added a very nice artistic touch to the game. I also felt that the lighting was actually quite a bit better in Gears of War 3 as well.
And this is the end of a trilogy, and the story doesn't disappoint. There are a lot of plot holes that happen in it, but like Cliff Bleszinski said before, there's only so much you can get into, an 8 or 10 hour game, which is understandable, but there's still a lot of questions unanswered. Like Locust Queen, for instance, she's a human, supposedly, and they never say where she comes from, how she became the leader of them, and you're just kind of left with that on the table. I know Halo did a lot of things with the books, like you found out where, Master Chief came from, how old he was when he was, initiated into the Spartan program, stuff like that. But, I mean, at least to a standpoint, you knew who the Covenant were, why they were fighting, stuff like that. I don't know, it didn't really come full circle for me. It was very good, but there's still elements that I felt were left out. Scrotus, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree too. There were some, plot holes in the story for sure. It's interesting being that what they still had the same writer that came from Bungie, if I remember correctly, that helped write some of the Halo series. But that and there was a little bit of overacting. Ice-T, cough, cough.
Yeah, I felt there were some. I did feel this was the most epic of the Gears of War stories. I will have to say that I think Gears of War 2 was still my favorite. There were some very, very cheesy lines within Gears of War 3 that I was like, really? Did you really just say that? And but that's not to say it's not a good story. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I was hooked from beginning to end. It was not my favorite of the three.
They're just 2 had a lot of gigantic portions to it, like especially the last part with the you're riding the Brumok. Um, there was the part when you were inside the worm. It didn't feel like there was any of those gigantic, excuse me for the term, epic moments during the campaign. Uh, it was good, it was well paced, but you just went from point A to point B. There was no like stop shock moments in between to really, I don't know, pump it to 11. I did like um, finishing the story with Dom, with his wife, and everything that happened with that. Yeah, it was a little cheesy, but I mean, at least in the first game, it felt like, it was just these, big brawly characters. You don't know who they are. They shoot a lot of things and fist bump and then go on their way. I mean, at least within 2 and 3, they brought a little bit more light to the characters. Made them a little bit more humane. Um, do you think this? Do you guys think this was a good end to the trilogy, or could it have been better?
It could have been better. There, like you said before, there was a major plot hole. The whole mirror thing that I think that needed to be buttoned up, and what they were alluding to in two, where'd the Sires come from? What was the big deal with them? And all of a sudden, that whole storyline just disappeared in three. That was kind of a major deal, and it just evaporated all of a sudden. So the trilogy 2 and 3 didn't mesh together too well. I mean, they did somewhat, but not totally like they should have.
My biggest complaint with the third game was that it sort of, I want to say, was almost a different story than the other two. The other game ended with a sort of a very small glimpse of the Lambent. It didn't really give anything about them. And then in the third game, it was all about the Lambent, and the Locust took a second seat, so it seemed like the war went to totally something different, and I was sort of left wondering why. But that was just my personal opinion.
Yeah, the other thing I know it was really cool gameplay wise was whenever the locusts started popping up out of sand and everything, but I mean they used to come from emergence holes, like you know, they start burying their own little holes now, or they just been laying in the sand for a decade. I mean, there's a few things that worked as a gameplay point, but as far as answering questions, there's few answers. And yeah, you mentioned the Lambent, and it just Scrooge mentioned that the writer came, I believe it's the same person that came to or from the Halo books came to write the script, and the Lambent, the stocks, and everything towards the end had this weird, eerie feel of the Gravemind from Halo 3, and it just, I don't know, it seems like Microsoft's, big opus franchises now, end with three-way wars, and, someone has to be this weird, icky plant, grotesque-looking thing. So I just found that kind of funny.
Yeah, I agree. That was totally true. Well, I thought it was.
I mean, this is not to say. I mean, I know we've harped a little bit on the Gears of War 3 campaign as a whole, but that does not to say that it is not a good campaign, because it is on its own. It stands very well. It is better than the first one, in my opinion. It has some very epic moments. It's very cohesive. There's nothing that really stands out as this is terrible. It is a good campaign. It's a great campaign, actually. I enjoyed it from start to end. Visually, it is the best looking Gears game to date. Sounds sound great. A lot of the movements, motions, controls, everything in regards to that is way better than the previous two games. Gears of War 3 handles better mechanically than either of the previous two titles, so in that respect, it is a fantastic title.
Yeah, I second that because they remapped some of the controls. A doesn't do everything anymore. I mean, in 2 you used A to pick up bodies, to get behind cover, do all this. They finally remapped some of the controls, used some of the buttons that weren't used. Yeah, it is from a mechanical standpoint, it is fantastic, and it is the best Gears game, because Gears 2 was, as far as the story standpoint, was good, but as far as mechanically, it was all over the place. But yeah, Gears 3 is definitely solid. It's the best Gears experience. I know we harped a little bit on the story, but as far as the campaign's the best out of all of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. The game all around as a standalone, without thinking of the other two, was definitely a great game. It was just a cohesion issue with the trilogy that it kind of brought it down a little bit. But the standalone story, if you just walked in and never played the other ones, I think you could get into it pretty easy and enjoy it thoroughly, and then decide you want to go back and play the other ones.
Yeah, and with that, we will be right back with the multiplayer segment of Gears of War 3. All right, and we're back for our second segment of Gamer Chat. This segment, we're going to take time out to talk about the Gears multiplayer and how far it has come over the past three iterations, and how three is, at least in my opinion, the pinnacle of what the Gears multiplayer could be. Soundman?
Well, let's start off with the previous two Gear titles. Both Gears of War 1 and 2 started off with horrific multiplayer experiences, going from glitching guns to can't join a server to extreme lag to not even being able to do anything in the game at all. Bad, broken multiplayer components. Gears of War 1 was a prime example of a failed multiplayer startup, and it's probably one of the main reasons why it never took off. That's not to say that Gears of War never had a large multiplayer base, but I believe it could have been 2 or 3 times what it was had it not had the large amount of issues that it had at startup. Gears of War 2 tried to remedy some of those, but it still suffered from laggy games, delay from the time that you'd shoot to the time it would register, numerous mechanical issues. But I believe Gears of War 3 has addressed a good number of these. Rick?
Yeah, it really has. It feels almost a completely different game from 1 and 2. They supposedly have dedicated servers now. We'll say supposedly because sometimes it runs like they do, sometimes it runs like they don't. But largely through and throughout, it's Gears of War 3 is a huge, huge improvement over the past two games. One, you had the host host shotgun issue was huge. They kind of remedied it in 2, but there were still issues. And 2 was, I think 1 was more playable than 2 was. 2, I've put so many hours into it and wanted to break so many different things around my. Wanted to break controllers, wanted to break headsets, just wanted to break the game, maybe the console. It just, the things were endless. I've punched tables. It, it had the potential to work and just never did. But with 3, I've been having a blast either playing by myself, playing with, friends. Just, I've had so much fun with it, except for the fact that it keeps throwing me on teams that suck, that don't know what they're doing. King of the Hill is my game mode, and I get teams that just would rather go for KD spreads and just ignore everything. And in that game mode, you really can't do that. You gain more points per hill captures than you do for taking anybody down. Scrotus, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I agree with that. The first two, locally, the games worked fine. I will say that. I will give them a positive note on that. The first one I never really played online, but locally was a blast. 2 was the same way. Locally, you got the system link going. You had a bunch of guys in a room. It was a good time. But as soon as you plugged it into the internet, the good time went away. I have 4 controllers that are broken in pieces to prove that the multiplayer was awful. And Cabby can definitely back me up on the frustration I showed during gameplay for 2. It was just at times just totally awful. But I still played.
Yeah, we have an infamous phrase now out of you.
Yeah, I won't say it, so just in case some little child is listening, But yeah, and but moving on to 3, it is 80% better. I'm not going to give it 100% because, in my opinion, if we have dedicated servers, why do we get migrating to host messages popping up? That does not make a sense. Are they turning servers off in the middle of a game or what? That doesn't make me believe that they have 100% server hosted gameplay at all. And it does play the tighter maps. It seems to play a lot better, in my opinion, than the larger ones. But you got a lot of data going through because the multiplayer does look almost as good as the campaign for sure. So I can understand the amount of data traveling around the internet, but still, I don't know. they're close to having an excellent multiplayer, but they're not there yet. I'm not going to give them the total thumbs up, but it's almost there.
Yeah, there's still. I'm still finding a few mechanical issues here and there, especially with the mantle kick that from the beta they've turned down quite a bit. And if I'm holding up on the joystick and trying to vault over, half the time I swing around the corner and end up getting killed instead. Um, just little things like that. Yeah, like you said about the servers, and sometimes it seems like it, sometimes it doesn't. Some of the matchmaking I still think needs worked on, but I still have a blast with it.
Yeah, it is definitely fun, but there are moments when I am tempted to crack a controller, but they are very few and far between. But this is the only game I have that issue with. I mean, any other game I've ever played, it's been my lack of skill, which I will openly admit I suck at everything, but I still play. But Gears, I'm fighting mechanics more than I'm fighting opponents.
Yeah, it's. I've been fighting more or less trying to have good teammates whenever, like you, my brother, or other friends aren't around to play with, and that's been. They implemented the uh, ranking system kind of like how they did with the Rainbow Six Vegas series from 2. They everything basically you do campaign, you do horde, you do beast. It all implements into a number that shows up during campaign, and we actually saw a really high level guy for the game only being out for a week and a half. We saw like an 80 something last night, and he was just terrible. It just I don't know. They really should maybe have not given as many points in those outer game modes that they do to maybe I don't know fairly balance things out better. But I see it as more of a problem than helping people because I'm only 51 and I was crushing some 80 some guy and it just I don't know. I really wish they would have separated maybe the multiplayer ranking from the rest of the game.
Yeah, it is making it a lot easier for people to rank up and do unlocks, which that seems to be the flavor of the day. Everyone wants to make it easier to level up and not challenge you to do so. Um, so you could just sit there and play Horde all day and hit level 100, but you still have to onyx all the damn medals to get the achievement. So I guess that's something.
Yeah, the new Seriously 3.0 achievement, it's pretty rough. Yeah, I mean, on onyxing all the medals, I don't even have a gold yet, and it's just, I mean, I could sit there and play Horde or Beast over and over and over again until I got one, because there are some simpler ones, but I don't know. There's just no fun in that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's something. It's I guess it's supposed to be silly. That's the whole point. If someone's willing to put the time in to do it, then they deserve to have it. But it's not going to be me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, me neither. The beast mode is something new that's to this iteration. It's basically Horde in reverse, but it's only 12 waves. You start out as being like some of the low level stuff as like the tickers. There's the wild tickers. You get to be the little grunts, and then you work your way up as you go. It's really interesting. It's kind of gives you a different perspective on things, and especially if you can get the Berserker, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, it it is. The beast mode is definitely cool. The whole the horde mode in general, the tower defense aspect just really amped it up. It definitely made it more interesting. Before, after playing a while, it would get a little draggy and repetitive. But the tower defense aspect and upgrading defenses and weapons and whatnot really added to it, and it definitely made it a lot of fun. And the beast mode that is really cool. It's a strategy game though. You can't just run in there by yourself and go nuts unless you're the berserker, of course. But if you have a couple people that work well together, you can definitely own in beast mode. Going through the different locusts is really cool, and learning their strengths and weaknesses and whatnot. But yeah, the horde I will definitely say it works great. It's just interesting that it works better than the multiplayer, in my opinion.
Yeah. So overall, we think it's a fantastic package. You've heard our complaints and our positives, and it's an overall fantastic game. We're going to give the final score of a 9 out of 10. There's so many great things done with this iteration in the series, the final chapter, but there's still a few things they can work on. Multiplayer wise, the campaign was good, but wasn't as fleshed out as it could be. Um, but yeah, overall fantastic game. Highly recommend it. I mean, there's three different versions. If you feel like going out and spending the $150, I mean, this is the last Gears title as far as we know. So it definitely went out with a bang, and we'll be back with our talk about the Battlefield 3 beta.
If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me.
Hi, and we're back for our third segment in Gamer Chat. We are going to be talking about the recently released Battlefield 3 beta. Me and Skirtis Killmeister has played it on the 360, and Soundman has played it on the PC. Before we get into the playable, but holy crap, it's a train wreck 360 version, Soundman, let's hear about the PC.
Well, as you know, the PC version does come with two maps instead of the one given to the Xbox. I did have the chance to play both maps. Both maps are large. My initial thoughts on the maps are they might be a little too big. It seemed fairly sniper happy, and that I don't like. They did bring Prone back for the PC version. I am happy to see that, so it does allow you to sort of set yourselves up. You are now able to see your feet when you're running. You're able to lob over things, which is actually really cool. I haven't really tried to see if that will knock someone down yet, but I'm suspecting they could incorporate that pretty easy. But going back to the one-shot kills, it was somewhat of a camp fest when I was playing. I found that annoying. Also, I found it very buggy. When I launched the game, the persona that you see when you launch the game, the clip was on one side and his body was on the other, so it was very discombobulated. I had a lot of lag issues when I was playing, sort of like when you type on a web page and 30 seconds later your typing appears there. Same would happen in the game. I'd make 15 different movements and 15 seconds later they'd all happen. And when you're trying to play, that's really annoying. Graphically, I think the PC version looks better in the beta, but not that by that much. A lot of the things they show in their videos aren't there, and I think that's tripped a lot of people off. I know that it looks nowhere near as good as what they have shown. The animations aren't that pretty, and there wasn't that many destructible environments. Having said that, the lighting is fantastic. I have never seen such awesome lighting in a game. The reflections of the gunfire off the walls, the explosions, all of that just look stunning. I also heard a lot of complaints about the videos not looking the same as the Xbox and PS3 versions. There is a reason for that, is because all the videos are shown in high-def rendered, best you can buy hardware PC version of the game. They will not look the same. So those of you expecting to see what you see in the videos online are going to be disappointed even with the end product. Now that's not to say the Xbox version doesn't look good, because it does, but it's not going to be near as pretty.
Yeah, and that's understandable. It's sitting on 6-year-old hardware. The 360 version, though, it's not. The gameplay mechanics are good. You can go prone in the 360 version. Also, you can do pretty much everything that you said in the PC version. There are plenty of bugs abound, and Skirtis, I'll let you take it away with some of the fun stuff we experienced.
Well, there's a huge list. Yeah, gameplay-wise, mechanically, the game is very sound. It's definitely Battlefield. You know, prone, you can jump, move around fairly easy. That all works. Graphically, there's glitches all over the place. people running sideways. There was actually the night before the beta went open, everybody, there was a huge graphical ditch right next to the MCOM station that when you fell in, you were under the map and you were trapped until someone killed you. Getting into the game, that was where I started saying it was a boss battle because you got to fight the load screen of death, and if you survived, you got to play, and if you didn't, you got an Xbox that turned into a brick because it locked up, and you had to reboot. But yeah, those are just a few of the issues. But this is a beta, but I'm considering more of an alpha. I think I'm going to say this again. I've said it constantly. I'm thinking EA is just shutting everyone up because they promised us the beta, so they just threw us something and said, "There you go, be happy with it, or we don't care."
I think that's one of the important things to remember when looking at this game. This is a beta, and from what I understand, it's not a build, the most recent build. It's from 2-3 months ago, and the framework is there. I mean, what is there looks good. It does need to continue to get work done to it, but I think the end product will be good, and I'm expecting to see a demo of some sort. One thing I wanted to touch on that the PC players might be interested in is how it incorporates with Origin. I was not thrilled. I do not like the web browser incorporated version of the game. I find it buggy. It does not feel right. Having to launch it from EA's website brings all sorts of alarms with me. If EA's website goes down, I can't play the game. I am literally tied to EA's website for the single player, the multiplayer, or the co-op versions of the game, and I find that very disconcerting.
Now, do you think that has anything to do with maybe that's their Ubisoft's been infamous for their DRM, shenanigans in the past. Do you think that has, this is EA's remedy for that?
I think in part, yes. I don't want to say it's just to force people to go to their platform. This feels like they're really trying to incorporate their Origin platform. For those of you who don't know, Origin is a direct competitor to Steam, or it's trying to be. As of right now, there is no competition between Steam and Origin. Origin has some nice points to it, but it's nowhere near as streamlined and smoothed out as Steam is. That being said, Steam has 5 or 6 years on it, so not entirely the best comparison, but why fix what's not broke, I guess. And they're pulling their 3 major titles, Battlefield, The Old Republic, and Mass Effect 3 into here. So it may just be something for the alpha to keep it controlled, and if that's the case, or the beta. So if that's the case, I'm okay with that. But for the end product, I would be disappointed if they kept it that way.
Yeah, and let me just add that you've been able to get onto servers, and I've been trying to play the PC version for 2 days, and every server's been full. And Origin does not dynamically update, and you don't know a server's full until you click on it and try to join it, and then it says, "Oh, hey, that server's full. We lied to you." That really annoyed me. So right now, I'm not liking the PC version at all, being the fact that I can't even play it.
All right. One thing I want to ask you guys. I don't care who goes first, but one thing you could pick out of the game that is very good. They need to keep. They don't need to take away. I know me and Skirts have talked about this a bunch, but the flashlights and the tactical lasers, I actually really like. I think it kind of brings a more tactical element to it. If you're in a dark hallway, someone flashes their light, you can't see down there, and just start opening fire. I mean, I think that, as Scrotus said, he mentioned the lighting effects in the game, and so did Salman. It really, I think it brings more of a competitive edge, more of a feel of realism to the game. But what do you guys feel would be one point that you'd pick out that you really like over, previous Battlefield titles?
Being able to accept revives, that is a godsend. I cannot tell you how much it annoyed me to get revived in the middle of a firefight only to get shot down again by some kid who decided it was funny to watch me die over and over again. That and the lighting are probably my two favorite features of the beta so far.
Yeah, I agree. With both those points. The lighting is amazing, even on the rickety old Xbox. They are pushing the effects. The tactical flashlight and laser, in my opinion, are easily defeated. But I like the concept. It adds another layer to the tactical part of the game. But the map layouts, I like how we only get the Project Guillotine or Operation Guillotine in Paris map on the console, but it has a nice flow from open field of battle to tight close quarters, and then the final layer is a mix of the both. It's tall buildings. Although the destruction has been dumbed down, I don't know if this is going to be the way the entire game is, but for the beta, it definitely got dumbed down. You can take out some walls, but you can't collapse like entire buildings. I'm going to be disappointed if I can't take out a skyscraper in the actual game, because they're talking up Frostbite 2.0 big time.
Yeah, I do like how you're mentioning the buildings and everything. I do like the feel of this is more of a city environment, like at least just from the one map. I'm not sure how the other PC map is, but Operation Metro I love how Bad Company 2 is a lot of open fields. You have little, pop-ups of houses here and there, but, this is really battling in a city, shooting from, one apartment building across to the other, looking down on a bus trying to defend something, but I just really maybe it's the aesthetics or maybe it's just the map layout, but there's just something I'm really finding intriguing about, even just the one map.
They still need to add furniture. Everything looks like it hasn't been lived in a little sterile. I've noticed that in the last couple titles I played in. There's just little minor, it's just a little minor thing, but just to add to the realism of the game, just something like a chair here and there, or a rug, or a painting would add a lot of more depth to the, like, oh hey, I'm running in someone's room, they live there, and then I'll blow a hole in the wall.
Yeah, you're supposed to be in Paris.
I would also note that with the flashlights, being able to blind someone in bright daylight is not going to happen in real life. I've seen a couple times where someone flashed their tack light in the middle of a sun-drenched open field, yet it blinded me, and I was thinking that must be one amazing flashlight.
Yeah, I noticed that myself. I thought it was silly. Everyone's running around with tack lights on. I can understand using the laser because it does help your accuracy on top of blinding somebody. But a tack light, a flash, just a regular mag light on your gun is not going to blind someone in the middle of the day.
All right, and you guys have any last comments on the Battlefield 3 beta?
So far, it looks good. It definitely needs a lot of work, and I'm assuming this is an older version of the game, so I'm not really worried about it. I will be interested to see what the final videos look like for the game. I would love to see a demo, or at least a small single-player demo. Assuming they can provide that, it looks like I'll be playing that here shortly.
Yeah, same here. With the Xbox version, once you get through the layers of suck, the core gameplay is really awesome. Graphical issues aside, you just gotta keep chanting. It's a beta. It's supposed to have issues, but it just seems to have more issues than I would expect it to have. But the core gameplay is there. The controls are solid, and it's an overall good time. But once they button up the other issues, hopefully this game is going to rock.
All right, well, I want to thank you guys for joining me, and thanks everyone for listening. This has been Gamer Chat for the week of September 30th.